So, as an avid coffee drinker myself, I was curious which class drinks more coffee, underclassmen or upperclassmen. To collect my data for this experiment, first I sorted 3rd and 4th period English and history classes into alphabetical lists by grade, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Then I randomly selected 3 teachers from each grade to email requesting to survey their class. I chose one class per grade to survey based off of what teacher replied first, and then I went and surveyed these classes with a slip of paper. This is what the students saw when I first handed them their paper. For most of the questions, you could only choose one option, but the very last question, what do you put in your coffee, you could choose as many that apply. They usually came back looking something like this. And I took all of that information and then put it into a Google survey so that I could see the graphs of the outcome a little more clearly than just putting it in a spreadsheet. So for this test, I needed to perform a chi-square test, and for that you need to do phantoms. So just a little reminder, this is what all of the letters of phantoms stand for. The parameter for this, there were actually 2. P-un means how many underclassmen drink coffee often, and then P-up was how often upperclassmen drink coffee. My hypothesis was that underclassmen would drink less coffee than upperclassmen, so that was my null hypothesis, and my ha would be that underclassmen actually drink more than upperclassmen. The assumptions for a chi-square test would be large counts, SRS, and assume independence. So SRS was given since I conducted the sample, and SRS means simple random sample, so I can confirm that that's given because I did it. And then large counts needs to be 20% of the data cannot be less than 5 of the expected values, and 2 out of 8 of my values were under 5, so we needed to proceed with caution in this experiment. And then the last part was you have to assume independence, and we can definitely assume that the population of under and upperclassmen in all high schools is definitely higher than 1,170 because that's 10 times n, and my n, which was how many surveys were conducted, ended up being 117. So then you need to label your test, and mine was a chi-square test, and from that I got a chi-square value of 9.420, which gave me a p-value of 0.0242, and the degrees of freedom ended up being 3. Once you take all that information, the p-value ended up being between 0.025 and 0.020, which would correlate to between 2% and 2.5%. Since the alpha level for most problems is 0.05 or 5%, this data would not be statistically significant at 5%. After doing all that, all that's left is your statement. So, we will reject the hoe that underclassmen drink less coffee than upperclassmen drink at the 5% significance level based on the p-value between 2% and 2.5%. So, from this experiment, I learned that there might be a slight difference in the amounts of coffee upperclassmen and underclassmen drink, but it's not as big of a gap as I thought it would be. I thought that upperclassmen would drink way more coffee, but it was not statistically significant. So, I would probably need to survey a lot more of the population of interest to find an actual more accurate conclusion, but from this experiment, it was not significant.